Hello, and welcome back to week number 2 of the Master Duel Challenger Cup action. I am Sebastian Lemke, aka LempyYGO, and I'm a regular caster of IRL Yu-Gi-Oh! Events. And today we're going to talk about the week number 2 winning deck lists of the Challenger Cups that are hosted here in Europe. And as you can see, we had 6 different Challenger Cups this week. All of them were a little bit smaller compared to last week, only 32 player and 64 player tournaments. Still, I talked to all 6 winners and I got all of the deck lists, so there's plenty of stuff to go through. First, I want to remind you though, please make sure to like, subscribe and comment on this video so you are supporting my channel. That costs you nothing extra, so I'd really appreciate it. But now let's get into the first list here. And the first list is the one from Daguvax, who took down the 64 player tournament by far. And I asked him, hey, do you have any other lists to send me? And he was like, no, I only ran this deck from start to finish. I was playing Salamangreat all the way through, so maybe Salamangreat best deck, because he even played this going second on best of 3, kind of wild. What's interesting about this list specifically is that he's running Triple Will, then Salamangreat Myr. Those are like some unique choices, but definitely great effort to take down the tournament there by far. Second list we have is the one from Fante, taking down the Riley 1-for-1 tournament with 32 players. And he said his main deck that he used most of the time was this Sword Soul list, 42 cards. When I look at it, I only see, worth mentioning that he is running double Cosmic Cyclone, so he's preparing himself in the main deck for like runic decks. But besides that, it looks pretty standard. But let's see what else he brought, because he did not only play the Sword Soul list, he also played this unique Despia list. And as you can see, he's playing Ra's Disciple, meaning this is his going first deck of choice. And I think he told me that he only ran this once, but if you know that you're going first in the best of 3 scenario in Top Cut, this is definitely a pretty good call, because your opponent will struggle to overcome the Ra's Disciple lock, I can tell you that. Then another list he used was this Sword Soul going second list. So he only used Sword Soul and Despia, and as you can see, running evenly, running Lightning Storm, running Feather Duster, running Imperms plus Maxi and Ash Blossom, and even Veilers. He's very much prepared to go second, so if you know you are going second, this is definitely a great deck to pick, and he was definitely prepared for that, so he took down the Riley Cup deserved. And now we are going over to the Schattenspieler Cup, 32 players once again. And the winner was here, Lashko won. Lashko, his main deck of choice was also Sword Soul. And as you can see, 44 cards this time. And he actually ran Rivalry in the main deck, which I think is quite interesting, because this is a very going first card, but it can be effective going second as well. And even more interesting, I think, is Double Sacred Summon. This is a card that is not really popular in this deck, to be honest. Most of the Sword Soul lists, we even saw some just a couple of seconds ago, don't even run this, but he decided to up his main deck count to fit in 2 copies of this card. So quite interesting. And next up, we have his Despia list, and he told me this was the Despia list I specifically built when I would know that my opponent would be on Sword Soul, and that's why he would be able to main deck Token Collectors and also main deck Super Polymerizations. And therefore, when you know, either in Swiss, when you saw one of the guys is playing Sword Soul non-stop, or in Top Cut, when you anticipate your opponent to go with Sword Soul in game 2 or 3, you just go with this list and you are very well prepared. So definitely a good call there by Lashko. And next up, we have his go second Sword Soul list. So he wanted to have something go second as well. Makes sense. And still, he thinks that Sword Soul is like one of the best decks he has. So that was his go second Sword Soul list he used. And then as the last deck for Lashko, we have a Sword Soul list for the mirror match. He's actually running Token Collector in his Sword Soul deck, which is a little weird because it also stops you from summoning tokens. But if you're already established your board, I think you're going to be just fine. And therefore, this Sword Soul list for the mirror match also makes sense. So Lashko really banked on himself, knowing what the other guys are playing beforehand, and it worked out, and he took down the Schattenspieler Challenger Cup with 32 players. Next up, we have the Elgardian Kelta Challenger Cup with 64 players, and Leo Apra was the one taking it down. And he said mostly he has been using this crystal clear Despia list, 40 cards, very clean, nothing too special. But he did not only use that, he also used Sword Soul. As you can see, Sword Soul seems to be really popular in those. And also this list doesn't scream like, hey, innovation at all. It's pretty standard, but there's more. He actually, in top 4, started to use, as a going second option, this wonderful Sky Striker deck. We haven't seen Sky Striker at all so far, so it's interesting to see it here. We see the pot is being played, Pot of Avarice. And besides that, it looks like a pretty easy and nice striker list. Not that many hand interactions. He rather goes with board breakers, having lightning storms, having droplets and stuff like that. But I love to see strikers still getting some love. And then even more interesting, in the finals, he 2-0'd his opponent by just going second, picking this deck, Numeron. A deck that is really popular on the ladder, but on most cups has not seen much play yet. But he really shocked his opponent by having Numeron going second, and he completely overwhelmed his Despia opponent in the finals. So definitely great call by Leo Apre, also piloting Numeron in this tournament. Really nice. Next tournament was the one from Ambush 96, 32 players once again. Lord Martin taking it down, and he as his main deck in best of one, so in Swiss. He was going with Despia. Interesting to see that he main decked Super Polymerization, and Droplets in the main deck is also somewhat interesting. Besides that, just another Despia list. Well, that's not all. He used a lot more. He used that 40 card Dragon Link. We saw 60 card Dragon Link lists last week, but now we see a 40 card list as well. And honestly, it looks kind of clean. What can I say? Like, there's nothing you wouldn't expect in here, but there's all you would hope that there's in a Dragon Link deck is actually in here. Maybe it's interesting to see only 2 Striker Dragon. You would expect him to go for free, but 2 is definitely fine. Next one, we have a Sword Soul going second list. You see Lightning Storms, Evilknees. So it's interesting to see that Sword Soul in a best of one format is great and a lot of people are picking it. But as their going second option for top cut, they also have a Sword Soul deck. That shows you how good Sword Soul in general is in going second. And yeah, he has a going second version of the deck prepared as well. Then he has a Sword Soul best of one deck too. This is just if he does want to mix it up and he doesn't want to play Despia all day long. I think he told me he played this once in Swiss, but he generally more sticked with his Despia deck. But this is definitely just a good and standard Sword Soul list as well. And then we have another version of his Despia deck, but he knew that there would be somebody in the playing field playing Phantom Knights, and therefore he prepared himself a version of his Despia deck versus the Phantom Knight deck. So he already pre-built a deck that was beating Phantom Knights in theory, and it worked out in practice as well. He actually played that Phantom Knight guy, and he used this list, and he beat him, of course. And then, what a surprise, once more, we have the Numeron deck. He also used Numeron in the finals. Kind of wild. Really interesting to see that both of those cups back-to-back were won by Numeron decks, because they played both of these guys played Numeron in the last game of the finals, and they decided the finals with it. We see the red reboot in here, of course, standard Numeron stuff, Numeron Wall, Numeron Network, Numeron Calling, all that kind of stuff. Really interesting. Like, this deck was super annoying on ladder, but it's kind of nice to see it having popularity now in the Challenger Cups, because nobody really saw it coming. Nobody really expected it. And last Challenger Cup is won by Davide L de Zaragoza, 32 players. And actually, as you can see on the top of the screen, my moderator Rick actually took it down. We streamed it, we cheered him on, and he actually managed to go through, winning the whole thing with his Sword Soul deck. Shoutouts to him, great success, and I'm very proud of him. And as you can see, another really clean and standard Sword Soul list. We see the triple circle, so he definitely values circle. We see he's running the single Sacred Summit as well, so it's not something that people just completely disregard. But besides that, maybe the Dragite is interesting, because not everybody was running that, but it looks pretty standard as well. But that's not the only list he submitted. He also played a Go Second Sword Soul for top cut, so he decided to only play Sword Soul, but he wanted, of course, an option to go second then in top cut. And I can tell you, this guy did not only bring this in when he would know that his opponent would start, he would also sometimes just let his opponent start when he could decide in top cut, and then bring this in going second. And we saw him taking games down like that. Very nice cup. And all around, 6 very cool cups. A lot of different deck lists. We see that Sword Soul is still very much together with Despia dominating the format, but we see some nice little decks in between. So I'm definitely looking forward to more lists from week number 3. I am already collecting them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will be seeing you back for week number 3 very shortly.